Зараз у нас англійська мова. Гарбуз Марина розкаже нам, яку тему ми почуємо. Вона буде остання на сьогодні. Пані Марино, вам слово.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So, as you can see here, London is the capital of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So, this is our today's topic for the 7th form. So, everyone who is studying English, of course, knows this information. And now let's travel around London. And before telling about London, before traveling, let's revise one of the most famous proverbs, which Dr. Johnson said, "When a man is tired of London, he is tired of life." So, welcome to London, the capital of the UK. It was founded more than 1,000 years ago. More than 8 million people live here. There are a lot of places of interest in London, and we are going to travel around London and see how many places there are. Tourists usually start their tour with the Tower of London, the oldest building in the capital. It stands on the River Thames. So the first our sightseeing is the Tower of London. It is one of the famous sightseeing. It has a long history. In the past, it was a fortress, a prison, a castle, and even a zoo. It was built to protect the city from the enemies. There are a lot of ravens at this place. There is a legend that without ravens, the tower will fall. Nowadays, this building is a very popular museum, and you can see it at the photo. People who comes to London to go sightseeing always want to visit Westminster and to see Big Ben, of course. So our next sightseeing is Big Ben. You know that it's a clock in the tower and it is a big bell. You can hear it every hour. People are allowed to get inside the tower so that they can see the work of the clock. There is no lift and there are 340 steps. It weighs more than 13 tons. So let's travel further, and the next sightseeing is the House of Parliament, of course. It is a place where British government sits. It consists of 3 parts: the royal apartments, the House of Lords, and the House of Commons. Standing not far from the Houses of Parliament, Westminster Abbey is a symbol of England. The legend says that it was founded by Saint Peter. Westminster Abbey was built by King Edward in 1065. The coronation of all British kings and queens takes place in Westminster Abbey. Some famous English people are buried here. The funeral service for Diana, Princess of Wales, took place in Westminster Abbey in September 1997. The next sightseeing is Tower Bridge. It is the oldest and the famous bridge across the Thames. Originally, it was made of wood by the Romans, but it was often burnt down. Later, it was made of stone. And finally, it was rebuilt and made of concrete. So let's travel further, and we are in Buckingham Palace, as you can see. It's the London home of the Queen. Buckingham Palace was built by John, 1st Duke of Buckingham, between 1702 and 1705. Changing the guards takes place there at 11:30 a.m. every day, and you can see changing ceremony. The palace is open to public. The Queen of England is the head of the state, but she doesn't rule the country. The Queen is a symbol of the country history and traditions. Elizabeth II is the Queen since 1952, and you may see her on the photos. The next place is Trafalgar Square. It is the central square of London and traditional place for people to meet. All sorts of protest meetings are held there. The statue of national hero Admiral Nelson stands there. There are 4 bronze lions around the column. Of course, if you like shopping, Oxford Street is for you. It is the biggest shopping street in London. There are 548 shops in Oxford Street. Each Christmas, the street is decorated with festive lights, and you may see it. You may see these lights on the photos. In mid to late November, a celebrity turns on the lights, and they remain on until the 6th of January. Of course, one of the most famous museums is Madame Tussauds Museum. It is a famous museum of wax figures. They have wax figures of all the famous people in the world, including the royal family, world leaders, and music legends. And now some words about the Greenwich Observatory. What is it? 300 years ago, Greenwich was a village. Queen Elizabeth I lived in the Greenwich Palace. Nowadays, it is the center of time and space, the prime meridian of the Earth, which divides east from west, passes there. And of course, we cannot but mention about the London Eye. It's the biggest observation wheel in the world. It is situated on the banks of the River Thames in central London. Its height is 135 meters, and of course, it is very popular with tourists. And now our tour around London has finished. I hope you have enjoyed it very much. And we have some time for quiz, which is called What Do You Know About London? So let's revise your knowledge. So the first task is choose the right variant. The Tower of London is a prison, a museum, a shop. Of course, it is a museum now. Big Ben is the name of the clock tower, the palace, the church. Big Ben is the name of the clock tower. Which bridge is in London? I have told about it too. Brooklyn Bridge, Tower Bridge, or Boston Bridge? Do you remember? Of course, it's Tower Bridge. The Queen lives in the Tower of London, the Houses of Parliament, or Buckingham Palace. Of course, the Queen lives in Buckingham Palace. I hope that your answers were right. The next task is for you to think about if these sentences are true or false. So the first, Buckingham Palace is the official residence of the Queen. So it is true. Big Ben is a beautiful London museum. No, it's false. Big Ben is a tower clock. Parliament consists of 2 houses. I have told about it too. Parliament consists of 2 houses, House of Lords and the House of Commons. It's true. Nelson's column is situated on Trafalgar Square. Do you remember? Where is it situated? Of course, it is true. Nelson column is situated on Trafalgar Square. Changing the guard takes place near the Tower Bridge. What do you remember? Where does it take place? It takes place near the Buckingham Palace, of course. The Tower of London used to be a palace, a fortress, and a prison. It's true. And now it's time to answer the questions about London. So the first question is, what is the capital of the UK? It's London, of course. What river is London situated on? London is situated on the river Thames. What is the name of the famous clock in London? What is it? Big Ben, of course. It's the famous clock in London. What is the most famous bridge in London? I have told about it too. It is Tower Bridge. What is the main square in London? Of course, it is Trafalgar Square. Where can you see ravens in London? We can see ravens in the London Tower. Who is the head of state in the UK? The Queen, Elizabeth II, is the head of state in the UK. Where does the Queen live? The Queen lives in Buckingham Palace. So, and as for the end of our lesson, let's summarize our knowledge about London. So, if we hear London, so what can we say about it? The first, London is the capital of the UK, of course. The next, London is an economic, political, and cultural center, as it is a capital. The next, London is one of the largest and most beautiful cities in the world, and you have seen it. London is situated on the River Thames. I hope you have remembered it. London attracts a lot of tourists every year. London has many places of interest, and today we have seen and we have discussed a lot of places of interest in London. And London is famous for, I hope you remember, Big Ben, Tower of London, Trafalgar Square, and so on and so forth. So as for your homework, so I ask you to write a composition. What would you like to visit in London? So thank you for your attention and good luck.